2020 wasn't the first time that the U.S. sort of experienced this collective disaster fatigue. If those of you who recall, about 20 years ago, right after the September 11th attacks, all we heard about was about acts of terror. We heard about the anthrax attacks. We heard about attacks overseas. There was a terrorist attack in Spain a couple years later. And everybody seemed to find that there were going to be acts of terror in the U.S. And we were just, remember, we just all braced for the next one. And it created a sense that people just really gave up. And they began to think in ways that aren't the most productive for developing the kind of disaster cultures that you really need to have to remain resilient in your organization. For example, early in my career, I was interviewing the principal of an elementary school, a really affluent elementary school in this beautiful area in Santa Barbara, California. And so I did what I normally do, which is I go into the office and I talked with her, and she walked me around the school, and it was beautiful. You could see the ocean out in the distance, and they had the green hills. It was so pretty. And right afterwards, we sat in her office, and I was just talking with her. And I asked the questions I normally do, which is I said, I would like you to tell me what you think the 3 largest risks are to this school. I want you to pick risks, whether they're natural disasters, if you think it's earthquakes or wildfires or power outages, or if you think it's things like a transportation accident because there's a freeway right by here, you're worried about maybe a chemical spill, or you're worried about an active shooter, with the kids, or, whatever it is. Just feel free to tell me whatever it is you think. And I'll never forget her answer. She sat back. She thought about it for a minute. And then she leaned forward and said, the biggest threat to the school is Al-Qaeda coming, kidnapping me, and then beheading me. And that was the first I'd ever heard anything like that before. And I can, in a sense, sort of understand why she felt that way, even though maybe her risk calculus is maybe a little bit off, because I'm not sure that Santa Barbara and that particular area was likely to get that kind of terrorist incident, especially one of that specificity. But what ends up happening there, and what happens with a lot of people in this disaster environment, is that really the way that they perceive disasters becomes very different. And what I've started to see, and I think a lot of you have as well, is that what happens with COVID is that people begin to say, I've braced for far too long and I can't do it anymore. And that happens in every disaster culture. And your organization can respond to that by doing a number of things.